All right, let's start. I will quickly introduce you and you jump in and correct or add stuff. So you are the artistic director of the Dresden Frankfurt Dance Company since summer 2023. So we are in the third season now. You've kind of been a dancer all your life, I would say. Like from young age, you went to France to study, and then you've been dancing for Göteborg, for NDT2, then for the Foresight Company, obviously, which is of course us, but it was renamed. And you formed your own company in Switzerland also many years ago. Started working as a choreographer, and you worked here in Frankfurt together with Fabrice Maslia and Mai Zahai as Mama Zah. So when you came here, you had an extensive career as a choreographer as well, but mostly you were also performing in your own pieces. So you were kind of choreographer and dancer at the same time, which you're not anymore, even though you sometimes jump in. And I think, of course, most important is when you came here, you brought with you a method of improvising that you developed over many years, like 15 years, that you now apply or now is the basis of your work, mostly at least, maybe not exclusively, but mostly. How would you describe, let's imagine, like for a person that knows nothing about you, how would you describe what you do?
I would say the most important thing that you said already, it's the fact that all the choreography derives from the practice and from being in the studio and on stage as a dancer in my own pieces.
Yeah.
So I am a choreographer, let's say, from the perspective of a dancer and not from the perspective of the outside eye. So if somebody doesn't know me at all, I would say, how do you work every day? I say, I put myself into different situations and I try to deal with them. Mm-hmm. And I learn from that, and slowly, this is what creates the craft or the piece or whatever we are working on.
Can you describe a little bit when, probably that was like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, when did you find that this is what you want to do? How did you recognize that? How did you feel like, this is the path for me?
So one important meeting that I did here when I was in the Foresight Company, it was the meeting with Akira Hino, which is a martial arts teacher that came to train us, actually. William Forsythe had brought him to train us because of another dancer that used to train with this master in Japan. And I kind of fell in love with this kind of simplicity, this kind of philosophy, this kind of craft. How you could project onto an audience without projecting, just by being present. So voila, different types of presences. And all of that brought me to continue to work with this person, also to go to Japan, also to work here, and slowly trying to understand one thing that boils down to this simplicity is that there was one phrase that really hit me when he told me, if you master something, like let's say a technique or a tool, if you master it, it has to work the same way in every situation. If your opponent in martial art, for example, is big, small, more kilos than you, less kilos than you, faster, slower, if you have 2, 3, 4, 15, every technique that you will use, even if it's a single movement, it has to function the same way and has the same effect in every situation, in every scenario. And this is something that for me hit me totally differently, because I was like, in dance, I don't do that actually. Mm-hmm. I try to do my best. It can be, I don't know, if it's, let's say, ballet, it would be technically. I try to do my best when I improvise. I try to do my best when I don't know, perform a choreography. Mm-hmm. But try to do my best and becoming good at it, it was still a very, very big distance between mastering something, which mm-hmm. means it is one thing that it cannot fail. When you use it, it will always have the same effect. Mm-hmm. So I was like, you know what? Actually, why don't we just deal exactly the same way in art or contemporary dance or something, in the sense of like really pushing it to the point that if, let's say, I love improvisation, I use improvisation, I am able to deal with every situation the same way, and I am able to deal with it. And it has to be constant, and it has to also look that it's or pre-decided or choreographed or written, so that there is no this excuse of an impro jam.
Yeah.
It went better or not, or I made it or not. No, that doesn't exist. Or you made it or you failed.
How does the difference between you make it or not involve the audience? Is the audience then the place where you recognize, it actually worked? Or is it you as a choreographer, like an outside eye, that sees, oh, this worked or this didn't work? Or is it already the dancer?
It's already the dancer. It is, so let's say I am the dancer and I am also the choreographer, but I can also be an audience member.
How do you see when something works?
You mean in a piece or in a
Could be in a piece, could be also in a rehearsal.
You understand it when you look at it and you don't ask yourself any question in terms of should it be this or should it be something else. This for me is the base. If I look at it and I feel that I am advancing on the same rate as the dancers, 1 or 2 or 3 are evolving with it, and I feel that we are advancing together, they are bringing me with them, all at the same time that they are bringing each other forward and we all advance forward, then it just works because it's functional. When it doesn't work is when I start go like, strange. I start to feel in my affect and in my body, or I start going into my brain and I go like, why this? As soon as I go, why this? That's it. It means that there is something not working.
Let's go back to this meeting with Akira Hino. In this moment, did you think about this from the perspective of a dancer or already from the perspective of a choreographer that you already were at that moment also? Or like, is there this difference?
For me, there is I kind of blend it together, I think. It's really because it always comes from, I would like, for example, as a dancer, to be able to do some things or to feel some sensations again and again because they feed me somehow. The choreography is part of it because you can choreograph your body, you can choreograph different bodies in space together, and you can also choreograph from the outside. But it's different prisma of the same thing.
The situation now, of course, is a bit different as you are not dancing anymore. You kind of giving this method, you're passing it on to the ensemble or even beyond the ensemble when we did projects with students. So your role changed a lot. Is there any consequences of this? Did it change by this? Like you need people to understand the craft that they want to master the same way, right?
Yeah, they need to be able to, first of all, want to arrive to this mastering of something. This is, you really need to want that. Otherwise, it will just not work because it's too difficult. It's too much to invest in. Also, most of the people need to have a wish to understand choreography, if not become choreographers themselves, to really understand how choreography works. And for us, even through improvisation and through what I call live choreography, which is making it on the spot. But there is also another thing that I say, for me it's very important, is that it is very important that people understand, that I work with at least, they have to be autodidact, meaning they have to want to go into the studio and start digging themselves. And the less I say, the better it is, actually, because it means that they are already in a process. And what they will discover, of course, I will always be there and push specific points and places to bring things further. It's for me an exercise to understand in which direction is this artist going and how can I help to enhance this path. And then these different paths, after it's my job as a choreographer, I have to find a way to bring them together so that the paths can dialogue and can coexist in the space so that they create an ensemble, something that before a piece, even an ensemble, so that these people can function together in the studio and on stage. It has a dialogue, it has an impact. We have an impact on each other, and that this is really functional. I think still practicing it, but not dancing it, let's say, so much on stage and everything, something changed. Yes, I became better at explaining it. For example, I saw through the years, maybe to explain one thing, before I used to need to go around and try different doors, or I would say different things. Now I realize that some notions and some words or some specific exercises, for the majority of people at least, they work spot on directly. So now if I see you dance, I would say, do this. Not even try this. Like before I used to try this. No, do this. Because by now it is clear. When you will do A, B, C, it will create D. That's it. And it works with almost everybody. If it doesn't, then I really have to go into but let's say for the majority of people it works. Before I was not able to do this, for example.
Let's talk a little bit more in detail about the method. I think, as you said, like there's ABC and so on, and out of ABC comes D. I think the A, where everything comes from, like the very first principle is don't go back. Really, in terms of don't step back, you don't step somewhere and then you step back, but rather you advance through the step.
Yes, it's the notion that we kind of called it, I don't know who called it first. I think the first person that actually called it like this, it was the director of Norddance, Martin Forsberg, that said, "Oh, you are working on yesness," because it's true that I always start with, you have, in martial arts like this, you have to say yes to every information that comes from the outside, because if you say no, it means you resist. If you resist, you create a distance between your opponent and yourself and the situation, and therefore you start or thinking or being delayed on the rhythm of the evolution of the situation that surrounds you, etc., etc., etc. You have to say yes immediately to everything that comes in, so that you take it on board and you can actually use it. You can actually go with it. You can be in tune with what's happening, so that you know exactly in which situation you are and what you have to deal with, and be able to do the actions. So what you said about don't step back and step forward, it is just a practical way to not resist every moment the evolution, the progress. If you resist even a slight bit, immediately there is something that happens. You jump into your head, and you are not able anymore to feel and connect, like Akira Hino said all the time, the moment. And usually the moment decides for you. You don't decide for the moment. You are acting in the moment. You are present. You can even make choices and everything. But the moment dictates you. And your work and your ability to be in the moment dictates the outcome of what's going to happen. So it's not about what you can do, it's about what needs to happen in the situation. And this yesness on this don't step back, always step forward, is accepting that things advance, and if you don't go with them, well, they will advance without you. In martial art, this means you can be dead. In dance, it means maybe your career will pass you by. I don't know, I'm going a bit broad here. In a situation, let's say, of improvisation of dance, it could be, you lost an opportunity, or you are disconnected from the moment or from your colleague, and you are missing a step, a connection, a contact, a touch, a musical event, something.
I think one thing that is very much in the method, but I think I recognize that it's maybe even a more general principle for how you work, is that any movement is, you said that many times in rehearsals in different ways, is not for yourself, but it's for the other. And I think as a tool, this is very much related to the eye contact, that the eyes establish this connection, that you do something not for yourself, but for the other. If the other is the other dancer, your colleague, or is the audience, or is even an imaginary presence, it doesn't really matter, but that is really something from before the method in a way.
The eye contact is the path that you are going to use, but where it comes from is your intention. It is your heart, let's say. I would say your heart is what will be your intentions towards somebody, or towards life itself, or towards the situation or a space. So, for example, I will look at you, I will connect you through the eyes because I need to express something. I need to be with you, or I need to get information from you. And through the eyes, I get a lot of even small little movements or things like you're going to think about. Like I can see stuff. Yeah. You can see things in me too. But my intention is what I would like to give to you.
Yeah.
And this is, you cannot lie there. It's like, that's why I talk about honesty. It's, you can have all the tools of the planet. If you have an intention that is not clear, I will not perceive it. Mm-hmm. So I think it starts first with your heart. And then if you can connect to this, you're going to get an intention that can be communicated through the least amount possible of filters. Mm-hmm. Because if I think I'm filtering it, if I'm using a very complex movement, let's say in dance, I'm filtering it. If I use a task, or if I have an opinion when I'm doing it, again I'm filtering it. It goes through my filter. And I know that this can be very, very interesting in art, but in terms of being able to be in the moment here for you and not for myself, and then this is a work now on the, let's say, on the ego. Like, I don't know if it's on the ego, but let's call it like this for now. This is also something that can block an intention. So it is really a work of how you can be there for the other one, even if this means that it's not going to be comfortable for you, because in martial art is about finding solutions of antagonism. But this is in life all the time. All the time you have antagonism. So it is how are you able to reverse this and say, okay, there is antagonism anyway, it's there all the time, but how can I just be there? When I mean for you, it means for the meeting, so that I can meet you and that we can do something together. Even though it will be sometimes through antagonism, we can still function together. For this, I need to put myself into a kind of function so that I can, first of all, serve you, and then together we will do the same thing if you go somewhere. So if you also serve me, then we both serve each other. Then it's a much more fun path to go than if only one person serves the other one.
Can you describe what does that mean for your role as a choreographer? What do you actually control? What do you decide? What do you not decide?
I have decided that I will not control much, but I will find a way that people guide each other into a path together. I think it's strange to say it like this, but that's it. I have pre-decided, first of all, that I don't care about the aesthetics, what comes out of it. This is a decision I took, because you cannot deal with diversity and have a specific aesthetic in your brain. That's only you. It's not everybody. Yeah. So it's already not diverse. I have decided that I wanted to give space to the dancers to be able to find a way to communicate. Of course, I give them tools and we work on it and everything from what I know, but I also take all the tools they might know, and with yesness, for example, and work on them so that they find a way to communicate and connect together. And it has to be a way that it's constant. They can do it every day, again and again, so that I know that when they arrive on stage, they know how to do it. This I had decided already. I have pre-decided also that maybe I will take some decisions in some pieces, but mostly I will not take decisions, and I will train into looking at people interacting, creating pieces in front of my eyes, and that my only way to actually access this in the most, let's say, advanced way of the method is by talking about it after and giving feedback, or simply not even talking about it, even simply giving exercises to redirect things that have not functioned. But it's only about the function and not about the expression of it, meaning the dancer will always have the freedom to express different things, and they actually do.
Of all the things that you kind of let go to be able to work like this, that you can't control, what is the one that is the hardest for you to let go? Or was maybe, now probably you work like this long enough to not struggle, but maybe there was some moment when you felt like, oh, it's hard to not control the aesthetics, for example, of movements.
I cannot really say, because since I danced for a very long time in my pieces, probably this process happened while I was still on stage.
Ah, yeah, I see.
So I don't know exactly when it happened. I know that when I started to become choreographer only from the outside, I didn't have already this question. It was already probably worked on before. But I indeed saw a difficulty, which was the difficulty of accepting that from now on I will not be in charge on stage, meaning if something fucks up, I cannot jump in and save it.
So really the moment where you need to let go is the live show?
The moment I need to let go, it's also let's say we do a run through or something, or a session in the studio, already I have to let go there. Yeah. Because it could be that somebody discovers something that I didn't have in mind, that is great, but doesn't function for this piece. I still have to let it go for some days to understand if is it really not for this piece, or I don't see it myself that it's for this piece. Because if this person, this artist, this dancer is actually going through this process and it came from the rehearsal process, maybe it is a door that I have not seen yet. Maybe not. Maybe it's something personal that belongs to the dancer. Maybe actually it is valid for the piece, but this I cannot know immediately.
You said before that when it functions, it should feel as if it's actually written. So
from the outside, you should see it as an audience. When you see it, you should feel that it's pre-decided, or that it's written, or that it's choreographed, or at least that it's like, oh, you should not have any question mark, meaning what you see is what you see, and you should not have a question mark saying, could it have been something else? No, it cannot be something else. It is what it is, and you kind of take it for granted, let's say.
So it's not really about people shouldn't know that it's improvised, but they shouldn't pay attention to if it's improvised or not.
They shouldn't pay attention. What is going on stage should be more important, or it should take them in a way that it's not even important anymore if it's improvised or not. It is important for us because we need to work on it specifically to be able to provide such an experience to the audience. But the audience, it should not even be a question for them, which sometimes plays against me. So let's say if we would cook the same thing, but you would cook, let's say we would be in a competition, and in the competition, the last part of the competition will be make me a fantastic dish, and I decide I'm going to just try to make a new dish I never did myself, and you are going to do a dish you did for 10 years, and at the end we are in the same competition. Well, it's not the same thing. But the jury, which is the audience this time, they will eat both plates. They don't care if it's written or not written. They just want the best taste.
Then, of course, the question is, why did the guy do a new dish? Why do you put yourself in this position?
Because you're an artist. For me, I'm sorry to say it, I have to be very crude. There is artistry and there is artists. Artistry is you can repeat the same pattern and make it beautifully, like fantastically, but you are not asking more questions than the questions you have already. You are not answering to more questions than the questions that you have already. And then there is people that go like, no, there are questions that have been unanswered, and my goal as an artist is to try to find ways, answers, or more questions if they arise, and go like this and start working to see what's happening in there. What is the thing that I don't know, that maybe somebody else doesn't know, that I have not discovered, that maybe there is not even an answer to it, and that will imply a lot of failures or problems. This is, for me, why we do art.
Would you say this ambition kind of undermines the possibility to actually master something in the way that you described before? Because to be able to master, like, I have a clear result that I can reproduce, that works every time, you kind of need to say on a page that you already know, no?
Technically, yes. You need to master all your tools. But then what you will never be able to master is the situation you will be put in. Mm-hmm. In written choreography, everything is controlled. The situation, the series of events, what you are going to encounter, and the outcome. Here there is a very big unknown. You have all the tools, and I throw you onto a stage, and you don't know what's going to happen, because you don't know from who's going to shoot from where. Yeah. It's like being in a battle. That's why it is totally different. If I say to 16 people, go on stage and see what's going to happen, see when you have to go on stage, when you have to understand you did what you had to do, you took on whatever presented itself for you, a solo, a duo, a trio, you understand that this thing has finished. You exit the stage. You give the spotlight to somebody else takes it, and all this is happening on the spot.
You talked about live choreography. What we didn't talk about yet is live dramaturgy. But you touched it a little bit already, like in the example of people understanding themselves that they should enter now or should exit now because they did what they had to do, which kind of is something that the situation tells them what to do. Can you describe what is that term different from live choreography, live dramaturgy? It's kind of the next step in my view, actually.
It is, so let's say about choreography. You have what your body can do. You have what your body can do with other bodies. You have what you can do in terms of, I would say, interactions, musicality, space. You create duets, trios, quartets, all these kind of things. And this is in the realm of physicality, let's say. Then this starts to produce maybe sensations, emotions, and situations. So when you are in the emotions, you also have to deal with the different intentions that are out there and the different outcomes of a situation. And then when you dive into the situation, you start realizing that slowly, you are, either you want it or not, in a kind of storyline that is underlining everything that's happening, because there is an evolution of things. So you jump from one situation to another one, or a situation transforms and becomes another situation. And this starts to touch dramaturgy, which is how things and situations evolve one after the other, so how they advance. And slowly, you can go to the point that you can see the bow of the piece, and you can work on the bow of the piece, so that you understand how you start, you understand that you are navigating and fluctuating in the middle of a story that goes in different directions, and you also start to understand that, now it's starting to finish, and you have to bring it, let's say, into an end, a finale, what we call. Mm-hmm. So this is also about doing it live, and it's what I would call live dramaturgy, which means I have to have the capacity to start a piece, go through the various waves of the different scenes, and arrive at the end to finish, to a closure, to an end of a journey, of a specific journey.
This description of needing to let go of your ideas, needing to let go of the ego in some way. On another level, I think when people look at what we produce, it looks like a lot of self-expression, actually. Or even, I would say, maybe many of our dances are really extroverts. And it lives also from this. How do these two poles come together?
I think to be extrovert doesn't mean you cannot be there for the other one. For me, I don't see a contradiction there, because I will give you it's about generosity. I will give you an example. My godmother, she is very extrovert, but she will cook for everybody, and she will invite everybody, and there will be enough food for everybody. Mm-hmm. You see what I mean? And because she's also very knowledgeable and she did a lot of studies and she did a great career and everything, she's also able, through her extrovert, very much giving, also create a platform so that you can be part of it and you can discuss different things, eat together, spend a moment together. And because she offered all this, she's also able to receive also something. So it doesn't mean that because you are extrovert, you will automatically not be able to take on board the information of the others. And maybe the extrovert and the introvert can also dance at the same time, and they can still have the ability and the space to coexist together. And you could see these two qualities next to each other at the same time, even interacting together, and still it could work. You will recognize one is more extrovert and one is more introvert. This is not a problem to recognize it. But somehow it will be worked in a way that you accept it, it's part of it, it's part of life, and it actually respects more the character of each person than having to say, shut up you, so that the other one can come more up, or shut up you, so they're gonna... Everything has to exist. Then maybe the introvert at one point will go like, hey, I need to... but that's not bad, because from introvert you tried to become extrovert. New situation, new risk, new failure possible. And then the extrovert will go like, oh, where were you? For example, I'm saying it's a stupid example. It's like, oh, nice, let's play together. Or maybe the extrovert will understand, ooh la la, I have to calm down a little bit. Now, I did my part, now I let you do your part. And slowly, this collaboration, this dialogue starts happening.
But in this dialogue, there is a mode of self-expression, right?
Yeah.
So there is still this contradiction between you need to have this desire, in a way, to self-express, but also to let go of yourself.
Yes, but it's also very difficult to have, let's say, once you are on stage, you have anyway decided to be on stage. So this extrovert, introvert, it can define your character, but as a performer, usually when you're there, you know you're there. And you know you are being watched from the outside, and you are going to be put at the test with your personality. So of course there is self-expression, differently of course with everybody. But there is a very big, that's where it starts to become complex. You need to have a big ego to go on stage. Otherwise you just don't go on stage. At the same time, you need to work on it so that you make it positive, so that it is a way that it helps the situation, it helps everybody, it helps also you, but it helps also the audience, so that you can be seen, and then you can also be transparent the next second, and seen the next second, and transparent again. You need to be able to work on, I make it grow, I make it disappear. I make it grow, I make it disappear. This is really an exercise. And this is very difficult, because in the one sense, you need to be, let's say, hold the stage, and the next second, you need to be the perfect soldier that is in the rank and will not speak up. And the second after, you need to be again the one that will hold the stage. This is difficult. It's really a difficult work. But this is not specific to this method. This is probably specific to being on stage in general.
One thing that is quite apparent, I think, in the company, there's a lot of ballet in terms of the training. And I think your method, the physical side of the method, needs that really. Like the physicality that the dancers bring is kind of sort of influenced by ballet. But in another way, you're also going very much away from ballet in terms of what it's actually about, what is the thing that you want to achieve. And of course, there's also dancers that don't have a ballet background at all, that also don't join the ballet training, but have their own training. Is that because you've been a ballet dancer yourself, that this influence still shows up there, or how did it?
No, actually, it's because of martial art again. Of course, I was a ballet dancer, but what I realized is that a lot of physical exercises we did were about the same principles that I learned with ballet.
Mm-hmm.
So the way you use torsion in your body, in your legs, in your core, in the extremities, the way you use the relation between center and extremities, the way you use your footwork, the way you step onto the ground in order to go places, and especially the way you use the upper and the lower body in the torsion of, like, let's say my feet go this way and I go the other way. These are principles that in ballet, personally, I felt it a lot, and it's physically technically the same exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So unless we would do every morning a martial art class, which we won't, because I cannot teach it this way, and I don't think it's important. The closest to this kind of function would be ballet, because you are using the out movement and in movement, like supination and pronation, the same way.
Mm-hmm.
You are using the footwork in the same way, and you are connecting the low to the up the same way. So it is the closest and fastest possible that dancers can access to, so that we can rehearse, and that you feel that before even to start working on specific tasks, everything is already awake. And it doesn't mean that you have to have had a lot of ballet before or something. You just need to understand the basics to be able to wake up the precise directions and precise functions of it.
Looking a little back to the past, when you were working with Mamaza, what you did in this group was very different. But I do think there's also connections. What would you say is from how you work now here, what is the most clear similarity, or what that you say, there's something that we developed there that is still influencing my work today?
There is, so in Mamaza, it was the beginning, first of all, let's say together with Fabrice at least, when we started before Mai joined us, we had to get rid of a lot of things. So it was a period where we were dancing for Forsyth, and this is a Stampfel that doesn't leave you. You go, Forsyth dancer, it's clear. You choose it anyway, that's why you go there. You choose it because you really want to go into this world. This is clear. But then in order to find your own choreographical voice, you need to go through a period of transition to find a new voice. So then you need to deconstruct a lot of things. This was really the period of Mamaza. What for me stays a lot from that moment is all these discussions and questions and all this that we talked about before when we said it's about becoming an artist and not stay in the artistry. It was really about raising all these questions and these things that were like, okay, and what about this problematic? And what about this subject? And what about this failure? And what about... This is really still present now. It is the part of I am an artist, Fabrice is an artist, Mai is an artist, and we still continue to ask ourselves these questions with other people now, but we continue to ask ourselves the same questions. In terms of dance and physicality, what stays is that we were doing much more minimal and performative physicalities. Now, for me at least, it's much more dance physicality. But it's still the same, it's that we wanted the craft to be at its best always, independently of what was the final dance or physical or movement proposal. This is still the same. And then, for me at least, there is something that I missed at one point. I felt at one point that I wanted to re-go into what I would call movement dance physicality that I missed at one point. So after, let's say, the period of deconstructing and finding, let's say, a new kind of signature or writing or whatever, I was like, I am missing something about going there and just dance without thinking anything. So I had some years of just creating pieces that were very, very much let's go there and just dance. And there came this real need of improvisation for me, because of course I couldn't dance like I used to dance before. Also, I had gone through 10 years of, or I don't know how many, of deconstruction of something, and then how do you refine this kind of dance or physicality? And this is where I am still in today. How now you join all this more conceptual part, more performative part, with totally very dense physicality, which, although I have to say, still comes a lot from martial arts. So it is very much still related, even if in the result is kind of different. And then there was one, and this is the last thing, we didn't address in Mamaza big audiences. We didn't do that. We were very clearly into the research world. We were very fine to dance in front of 20 people, convinced people, and that was our main goal. We wanted to be in this type of world, in this bubble, which was very, very small. And at one point, also in Switzerland later on with myself, I was in there. But at one point, I missed communicating with people that maybe would have not seen dance. Another thing that happened is like a lot of trips that, and we did together, and I also continued by myself. We went to so many different countries and so many different danced, so many different cultures, constellations, with different types of audiences. I wanted to find something that will communicate with the people, either they have the same tools or cultural background, either not, directly with them. And this is something that, at least with Mamaza, we were not busy with it in terms of results. We were very clearly European, contemporary, minimalist, even non-dance, I would say. And then I was like, and now I want to take all this and make dance. I want to go and be able to go to a village in Indonesia and be able to dance for somebody that does, I don't know, traditional dance, and that we can communicate on a movement base directly like this, even if we don't have the same tools. This for me was the thing that tipped everything. And this is why probably today all this research and all this improv is in a big stage with a lot of people in the audience, because that was really one of my wishes. How can I take now this and bring it to most people possible?
You already opened this perspective of at the end of your life, looking back. What do you think you will then look back on a life as a mostly choreographer, or in a way maybe mostly a teacher?
I have no idea.
Do you see yourself as a teacher also?
I'm not even asking myself this question.
No.
It's all together. You are teaching anyway. But there is one thing that I said it and I will say it again. For me, I am teaching people how to become autodidact. This is very different from teaching them a craft. I don't know, maybe it will transform, maybe slowly. I have had already the proposal from people to say, can you come in a workshop? I am a psychotherapist and I believe what you do is physically what we miss in psychotherapy. Could we do a joint workshop? I don't know how it will turn out. Maybe some person will lead it through speaking, and then together with this you have some exercises that you do or you put people into situations and stuff so that you physically can experience the subject that you are working psychotherapeutically immediately. And we could be two people leading a workshop like this. It could be, I don't know where it could be. I say this because this is a proposal that already came. What else could it happen? I don't know. This is yesness. You don't know. Maybe in a few years I will be doing only workshops, but not even to dancers, to whomever, because the subject is more important at that moment. You have to be at the service of what is presenting itself to you. Now what presented itself to me is to lead the company. Tomorrow, I don't know. I will have to be there to be at the service of this. Now this is maybe not art anymore.
When you look into the future now, what are the challenges ahead, or what are the things that you're working on right now, that you're trying to find out maybe?
The challenge is about being able to find this thin balance of, in this company at least, and as an artist, how do you keep a repertoire going when you know that your research is also at the same time maybe bringing you somewhere else? Because let's say I make this piece here with some parameters and it's improvised, and then I am later on making this piece, which is totally different. It has a different function, different thing, and both will have to live together, but both are the result of practices, and maybe the practice you are in is moving forward and changing, but you still have to sell this piece on tour and present it, and it has to be of this nature, but today you are working on this thing, and to keep up the past with the present and the future at the same time, because when you are practicing, this is really a challenge to be able to have these categories and keep them alive at the same time.